Hello and welcome to Super OK, where we try to do a decent enough job to entertain people with our opinions on video games. As always, my name is Dale, and I am joined here by two absolute angels of human beings. We're going to start with Mel. Mel, how are you this morning?
Hi, I am so tired this morning, but for good reason, but I'm doing great.
Okay. I'm glad to hear it. And Brodie, how about you, my sir?
I am present. I am a little bit on the struggle bus. It is St. Patrick's Day weekend, and I'm here. I'm fueled by French toast and a lot of water.
Yo,
I'm doing okay. Doing okay.
Great. How many green beers did you drink this weekend? What? Zero. You state St. Patrick's Day weekend, and you drank zero green beer?
Yeah, I was drinking whiskey.
Irish
green whiskey.
It was not. It actually wasn't Irish whiskey. No, it was just bourbon. God. I don't really want to talk about it anymore, though.
I saw somewhere online. Now, I have no idea if this is real or not, but there was a Wikipedia page or something like that of Irish inventions, and it's like whiskey was invented in like the 14th century or something like that, and then there is a 300-year gap. And then another thing was invented in Ireland.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if that's true, but if it is, that's fucking funny.
It is pretty funny. Yeah. Love it.
Anyway, this is a video game podcast. But instead of talking about video games, we're going to talk about our highlight of the week. It's a thing that we do every single week where we just talk about something that made us a little bit better, a little bit brighter, made our weeks a little bit nicer to live inside of this past week. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I usually go first. So aside from St. Patrick's Day, this was a weekend I was very excited about for two reasons. Number one is the start of the early access Diablo 4 beta, which I've been looking forward to for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's outstanding. I'm having a lot of fun with it. The first day was not very much fun. I literally sat in line all day, so that wasn't cool. But aside from that, I've been really enjoying it. And the other reason is that my Kickstarter copy of the Monster Hunter World board game just got here. The rest of it just got here about an hour before we are recording this. And I have a table. My gaming table is full of monsters and card decks and all kinds of stuff right now. So I think this now takes the cake for it's not going to be the most minis because it's Zombicide, but it does have the most cards. I think the whole thing with all the sets has something like 1,500 cards. So there's a lot to this game, and I'm like, after the recording, I'm going to keep going to set it up because I'm punching stuff out and all stuff like that. But I'm really excited to play it. They appear to have done a really faithful job of porting the game from the video game to the board game, and have done some really clever things like to make sure that you have to still like sharpen your weapons and stuff, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to digging back into that and playing some more Diablo during the early access.
There are so many boxes behind you. And while it might not be the most miniatures, it's got to be the biggest miniatures, right?
Yeah, I was going to say they aren't miniatures. They're just actual figures at this point.
They're I think huge.
So the Kushala Daora, I think, is the biggest one that I have. I think the wingspan is like 1.5 feet across.
What?
Yeah, it's huge.
That's not really, a mini.
Really big. Right. And then we were having this debate the other day about how big does something get to be before it's not a mini anymore. There's a couple notoriously large minis in games. Cthulhu Death May Die has an expansion that's the play space is a giant miniature that's like 3 feet tall of a Cthulhu like busting down skyscrapers, and players actually like move their minis around, I think, on it. And there's also a Marvel Zombicide thing that's going to come out, which is Galactus, and Galactus is enormous.
Huge.
Yeah. So, but yes, I agree. There probably at some point they should stop being called miniatures. I agree with that.
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing like, you know, your review on this game and whether or not like you are able to get through it. Are you going to play with Mare, or it's just going to be yourself?
Either way, it's one of those games where just like you can play multiple hunters if you want, or I think she's going to give it a shot with me the first time at least.
Nice.
There's a whole campaign and stuff like that. Like every level comes with like a little story thing that you can read and go around and find crafting mats and stuff, just like in the game. So yeah, I'm excited to dig in.
Now, are there also like all the little shitters of miniatures, like the little like?
So it's just boss fights. Okay. So there's no like regular Jagras or whatever. Or Luderoths or something. It's like just the big guys.
Okay. One of the things that I love about like Monster Hunter games and like, like role playing games in general is like level 1 is like, go out and kill like a tiny spike-tailed guy, and level 20 is like kill God,
Yeah.
And so
yep.
I didn't know if they were encapsulating all of that.
Not in this one.
All right. So last weekend was Angie's birthday. And so my highlight of the week is what I did with her, which is I took her to the Schwitz, which is a traditional Russian bathhouse in Detroit that like was a traditional Russian bathhouse, became a Jewish hangout earlier because there was a gang called the Purple Gang, and they made it like kind of their hangout for a while. Back when like the mafia was like a big thing. And then like in the 2010s got rehabbed into like a health and wellness place, which is pretty cool. I don't know if either of you have gone.
Yes.
No.
I have.
Well, Brodie, for you and probably all of our listeners, there's like a steam room that's a Russian banya, which gets up to like 200 degrees and steam, and it's like you sit in there and you just sweat your ass off, but it's great. It's like this awesome heat permeates your whole body. You come out of there and there's what they call a plunge pool, and it's like ice cold pool. It's like freezing, so you can jump right in there. Oh, wow. Then you can go into their dry heat room, which is like a more traditional Swedish style sauna that's like dry. It'll get all the moisture off of you, all of that. And then there's like showers and all of that. And then upstairs, there's like a place where they'll do massages, and depending on the day, they might have someone there who does like manicures, pedicures, facials, like that sort of stuff. And then they have a restaurant where like they have a kitchen where pop-up restaurants can show up. So like when we were there was like a taco place that did like really delicious tacos, and they also had like vegan options. So it's just like a nice little like fitness club kind of thing where you can go, wear a bathing suit on we went there on a co-ed night, so bathing suits are required. If you go there on like a men only or woman only night, clothing's optional, but you just like hang out in a robe, eat a taco, and then like get in a steam room. It was awesome. It was nice. Absolutely amazing. And I was like, it's winter in Michigan. It's been very, very cold, and I was so warm. I was like radiating steam as we walked out of this place. It was awesome. So that's my highlight of the week. It was so great.
Yeah. I'm so excited about that you actually went to the Schwitz. I like went there a few years ago, and I thought it was like a very interesting experience because it's like, yes, it's like a really cool like bathhouse, but at the same time, there's like so much history involved with like the building itself and like what it's been through, who has been to that place as well. There's a lot of interesting photos that's been there since like the 1970s. That's really interesting to see, and I highly recommend that you like Google the Schwitz just to like take a look at like what it looks like on the inside, because like you would not have believed that this is a health club. It's cool.
It looks like it hasn't been renovated since the 70s, to your point.
Right.
So it's got that like that vibe to it. And also some salacious things used to take place there. And it kind of has that vibe also, but none of that is happening anymore. So it's really interesting. Yeah. And it's funny because I was talking to somebody about it and they were like, oh, yeah, I went. It's kind of grimy. And I would not describe it as grimy. It is outdated, but it's not like dirty. Like I never felt like, oh, this place is gross. but it looks like a place that should be gross. And so I kind of love it.
Yeah. It's also haunted, apparently. They like brought in a medium into that building and they were able to like talk to like some of the ghosts that like still hang out at the Schwitz because like that was their hangout space. So they just like in the afterlife decided that they wanted to hang out there.
I mean, if you're a mafia ghost, yeah, I can think of worse places to haunt.
Oh, man. I'm glad that you enjoyed your time at the Schwitz. This weekend, I got to go to see the Book of Mormon yesterday. It was incredible. I was very surprised because I think that like the Book of Mormon was first shown in like 2011. And obviously culture and the way that people perceive musicals nowadays has changed so much. But like I was thinking like, oh God, like back in 2011, like if I saw this particular play, like this is crazy. Like this is fucking wild.
Yeah.
Like they literally had like one part of the musical where it's pretty much just like fuck you God. Like that is literally the whole entire like song. And I was like, dang, like I can't believe like people are paying money to see this.
And it's a really like upbeat and fun song too.
Yes.
Hasadiga Ibue, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Man.
I don't know if anybody like for people who don't know what the Book of Mormon is, it is a musical comedy created by the creators of South Park. So it has a lot of like South Park dark humor in it, very crude humor. So you kind of go in expecting that. But it was super lovely. And then also got to play Diablo 4, which Brodie and I could probably go literally all day about like how great that is. And it's a very like as of right now, like as a Diablo lover, like this game really kind of scratches that itch. So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Now, how deep have you guys gotten into Diablo 4? Like what level are you?
I just hit level cap this morning, which is 25 on the beta.
Yeah, I've hit level cap since yesterday, and there's a lot of content to go through still. Like I still haven't finished the whole entire act or all the side quests, and there's a bunch of dungeons that you can go through and unlock and explore. So
cool. So how many like of the systems have they held over from Diablo 3? Is it like obviously the skills are different, but what else is there?
So basically everything that I remember being in Diablo 3 is in some form there. They just have like separated it out. So they still have the system where you can go over to Kadala. I mean, she's not there, but there's a person you can use a special currency to roll for random items, to like gamble on items. All the stuff that you could do in Kanai's Cube pretty much exists from like the occultist or whatever that guy in the house on the left side of I just always call it Klobuchar. The last name of Amy Klobuchar, who's a politician. Whatever the town is, I don't know. But yeah, they've kept most of the systems from Diablo 3 so far, from what I can see.
Okay, cool. Is like armor and weapons do they still have slots?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, so that means you can find gems in this game?
You can.
Yeah.
I see where you're going with this.
Man. Are any of them harder to find?
Yeah, I mean, you could find them in like really random out of the way spots.
Oh, so you might call those hidden gems.
Oh, man. There it is.
All right. So throughout our lives, we have played a bunch of different games, right? Some of them very well known, some of them maybe not so well known. And so this week, we're not going to focus on any specific type of game or concept, but we are just going to go back through our gaming history to the tiny, unexpected treasures that we have found, our little hidden gems. Did we share them with others? Did they become other people's treasures? Did they think, great, Brodie is recommending another game? Let's open up the vault. We're going to dive in. We're going to share them with you. I want to say this at the beginning. Hidden gems are like special. They're like treasures that you hold in your past. And so if you have these and we don't hit them in our list, please share them in the Discord so that we can play your hidden gems. But we're going to talk about ours, and we're going to start by saying, like, we got to define what a hidden gem is. So what personally makes a hidden gem? Is it more outright popularity? Is it the review score? Is it something else? And I'm going to go first because for me, I think it is about the inverse relationship between how good a game is versus how relatively unknown it is, right? The less known a game is, the less good it needs to be considered a hidden gem, as long as it's still good, right? Like every hidden gem that I'm going to call out here, I would rate a B+ or higher. But the B+ games are the games that nobody talks about. If it's an but if it's an A+, it just needs to be like lower on the majority side. That's my thought process around it. What are your guys's?
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much 100% aligns with what I was going to say. I think that it's definitely based on that. I definitely reserve a spot also for just games that like come out and have like a mediocre review score, but like I might play and absolutely love, which I feel like there is a pretty large swath of games that fall into that. And then usually I try and convince people to play them and they're like, no, this game does suck. You're just wrong.
I feel like for me, like hidden gems are like the games that aren't like super marketed heavily to like say like tell people to like, hey, play my game. And a lot of the times when I think of like hidden gems, like they aren't necessarily created by like a AAA studio. Like I feel like AAA studios has like just a huge bank of just cash that they can just like pump into like the marketing of their games. And the games could be like hit or miss. Like, but those aren't necessarily hidden gems for me. They're like, oh, here's a gem in a case. You could like it or you could not, right? So hidden gems for me would have to be like more on like the indie level. And they could be good or bad, like it could be something that you just like in general.
Yeah. I think you could still have a AAA game that was like not marketed well or like didn't sell well because of like bad marketing or something like that. Like I want to make it abundantly clear. I am not calling Daikatana a hidden gem, right? But Daikatana is a perfect example of this, where the marketing of that game was so shitty that a lot of people just didn't try it at all because they're like, who the fuck is John Romero? Like, get out of my Game Pro. Like, John Romero's calling me his bitch. I'm not spending money on his game then, like that sort of thing. So bad marketing could also contribute to that. But I agree with you on the most part. Like nowadays, AAA studios don't take the risks that are required to make a game a hidden gem because every game costs so much to make for them. And so it requires a bunch of money being pumped into marketing. So that way they know they're not going to have a failure. And then, there's still like a bunch of failures that come out. So
one of the closest things I can think of in modern gaming is like maybe Outriders, just because like that game even did well critically and people said it was a good game. But like, I don't know a person who's played it all the way through and maybe still playing it. I think maybe Clay has played it through, but like
I played it through again and played it through.
You have? All right. Well, I'm full of shit. Never mind.
No, you're fine. But also like we're on a video game podcast, right? So
I never hear anybody talking about that game though, for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. You had to be kind of a hardcore gamer to do it. The problem with that game, to the point that we're speaking about, is it was marketed really badly. It was marketed like it was going to be a Destiny killer, and it was nothing like Destiny when it came out.
No.
So yeah. All right. So what was the first time that you stumbled upon a game that was a hidden gem? Like, how did you know? Given our discussion above, what made it hidden?
So mine is it's one of two games, and it's pretty obvious because I still to this day haven't found anybody who's played either of them. And these were for the PlayStation 1, and I think I bought them at like an FYE or something. They were just at like a random game store counter. I can't even remember. I barely remember this FYE stores. But anyways, it was either Robo Pit or Pit Ball. They were both Pit something, I guess. My Pit era of gaming. So Pit Ball was a game that was like a combination of like, it was kind of like Windjammers, I guess, where each team had like an alien faction, and you had a ball that you were trying to throw into like a goal that was on the side, and you could like curve your shots and stuff like that. You could like punch people. Every team had like special abilities, so there were like fish people that could like swim under the level and go really fast and stuff like that. And I used to play a bunch of that with my buddies in high school. And RoboPit was a first-person arena combat game using robots that you build. I think I've talked about it a couple times before, but like you customize the weapons and stuff, and there's like 100 different weapons. You can have like a sword, you can have a shield, you can have like laser guns, cannons, stuff like that. And you have to try and fight your way to the top of like the standings. And those, again, I don't know if I've spoken to anybody who's played either of those games.
I have never played Pitball. I've heard of RoboPit quite a bit because actually our number one contributor to the podcast, Zando, used to be on a podcast called Legend of Retro, and his co-host there, Chops, loved the hell out of RoboPit.
Really?
Would advocate for it constantly.
I love that game too.
Yeah. So it made it really it's funny to hear another nerd who's like, this is a game nobody's heard of and you should all be playing.
Yeah.
Dude, this RoboPit game, like looking at some of the images, is just so silly. It kind of reminds me of like the robot death fights that you see on like the Sci-Fi Channel or Discovery Channel. I can't remember which one it is, but you like create your robots and like you
kind of
chop them up.
Except it's totally goofy because you can have like the comedic like boxing mitt on a thing where
I love
like on a spring that just like runs out and punches. Yeah, it's a totally goofy game, but I loved it.
Yeah. They even got like these really big like cartoon eyes. They're so cool.
Shields were OP in that game because you could get like shields that would do a lot of damage, and they're shields. So you could just get two shields and like hold them up in front of you and then punch the shit out of people with them. That was always my strategy, was using shield 2s, I think.
Shields are OP in real life.
Sad that I missed out on this.
It was a good one.
All right. Thanks. I would love to go next because you know how like back in the day, you know, you go to Blockbuster and you're like, man, I just want to like go and play like these really cool games. And when you get to Blockbuster like on a Friday night, you find out that all your games that you want to play are just like taken by other people. And then you're just stuck with the leftovers. And you're like, man, like, I don't even know what to play. Like, I know I want to play a game this weekend, but I just like don't know what it is. I picked up a copy of Clay Fighters, not knowing what the fuck it was. And that game was so freaking good because it was like a cartoon version of Mortal Kombat, except you're playing as like these clay animated figures that is just doing the most outrageous things. Like there's a character in there called, what did I put in the blue suede goo instead of shoes. And it was a Elvis like character that had like this crazy hair, and he would like whip his hair and like try to attack other enemies. It was so silly. And I like got to play it with my friends. So like a lot of like my, you know, friends in my neighborhood got to play it. But like every single time I talk about it, people are like, what the fuck is that game? Like, I don't understand. I'm like, they had like a taffy guy that would look like Gumby that was like murdering people. How did you not know what that is? Ugh.
That game was so goofy.
Yeah.
You guys have heard of it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really? Is it that popular?
No.
No.
It did not sell well, but you know, video game nerds.
Sure.
So don't be surprised if we've heard of like some of your hidden gems. But at the same time, like I didn't own a copy of this. I don't know anyone who owned a copy of this. But to your point, a lot of the like hidden gems on my list are games that we rented from like Family Video, Blockbuster, that sort of thing. And so I think it was my friend Nick who like his family rented this, and I came over on the weekend and like we played it because there was like, if I remember correctly, there was like a dinosaur character. Santa was a playable character in this game. Like there's a bunch of crazy shit going on, but I distinctly remember the Elvis character. And I also remember how good the like stop motion animation that they used was.
Yep. It was
in a time
really
when like Mortal Kombat was trying to do like videos of humans that looked like stop motion. This was doing stop motion that looked like videos of clay. It was awesome.
Yeah, the animation in that, like I recently watched like a YouTube clip of like somebody playing it. I'm like, dang, like for an SNES, like this is pretty fucking fantastic, surprisingly.
Yeah. Also, just a quick shout out to your kind of unlocking a core memory of mine, just walking through Blockbuster looking for games to rent was the fucking jam.
Yeah.
It was such a good feeling to do that. Man, I used to love that.
Because then you get to like look at the physical box and like look to see like what the description is, and without having like that feeling of owning it, you're just like, I don't know, it's something about like touching something physical and just it's great.
Yeah. The best was when you would rent a game and it would still come with the manual.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was so good. It was so good. All right. So I am very excited about this because the first game I can think of that was a hidden gem, I have been trying to locate for, no joke, like 15 years. When I was a kid, there was an arcade near my house called Galaxy Arcade, and it had a game called Totuma. I may have spoken about this on the podcast in the past, but basically it was like an analog version of Pong that used skee balls, and each person had a paddle that was controlled via like these. I just punched my microphone because I'm trying to show what it looks like. This is an audio format, Dale. It had two handles that came up that as you would rotate those, you could rotate your paddle to kind of like shoot the ball back and forth. And it had this big cage over top of it, and it used skee balls, and you'd shoot them back and forth. And obviously like you try and score on your opponent, kind of like mixed between like air hockey, breakout, and Pong, but analog. There was no digital anything to this game, and it was amazing, and I loved it. And then Galaxy Arcade closed, and I could not find any information about this game for the past 15 years or so. I would try and Google it. I would try and look it up. Nothing existed about this game until I was researching for this episode. And I actually came across the patent information for this game that shows like what it looks like and what the paddles look like. It's classified under, quote, table game because it's technically not a video game because there's no digital parts in it, which is insane. But it had a coin op slot, and that was what would dispense the skee balls for you, right? And then I found a promo card for it that somebody's selling on eBay that will actually show you what the front of the game looks like. But I have been unable to locate any information about this game for the past decade and a half. And every time I tell people about it, they think that I am crazy because it doesn't sound like a thing that has existed ever. And I fucking loved this game. And I was like in the Discord while I was doing this research, and the other people in Discord, when I found this, were like, "Are you okay?" Because I was yelling so excitedly about finally finding proof that this game is real and exists. Really funny. And it's called Totuma, and I loved it with my whole heart. But no one I know has ever heard of it at all.
I definitely have not. This thing looks totally insane.
Yeah. And Gannon was like, "You gonna build it?" And I was like, "There's no way I could build it." And then I looked through the patent information, and there's like detailed drawings, and so maybe I might build one.
You totally should.
It looks
very
wild.
Pro Dale building Totuma.
That looks so cool.
It was so freaking fun. It was so fun. And because you could tilt the paddle, you could do things like catch the ball like you do on like a pinball lever, and then like balance it on your thing and move left to right and then shoot it when the time was right. Like it was awesome. The game is so fun. Anyway,
that's nuts.
That's like so interesting because there's like I don't know. You probably like came across it, right? There's like this arcade preservation fandom.com or whatever, but apparently it was used as inspiration for Shootout. Like, you know the arcade game Shootout, right? It's like a soccer game.
I saw this yesterday when I was doing my research. I've never seen that in the wild. I've never seen International Shootout in the wild.
I haven't either.
It's literally very similar. You got like little flippers, and you just like flip the ball into the other goal. But yeah,
so it's like competitive pinball as opposed to competitive Pong.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds awesome. But man, you guys have no idea how ecstatic I am to have this information. Like, I'm so jazzed about it.
There has to be a working version of this somewhere. Like, there has to be.
Probably. But if there is, I don't know where. I would buy one of these.
Wonder if they have one at Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum.
They do not.
I don't think they do.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
They do not. Yeah. I was looking. I would have loved it. So
that's wild.
All right. So
I was going to say, if anybody knows where Dale can find one of these, hit us up.
Yeah. I'll pull an Ocean's 11 style heist. I don't give a shit. I just need Totuma back in my life. Or if there's like an arcade, I'll just go and pay them to play it. But if it's like in a if Nick Cage owns one of these, I'll fucking steal from Nick Cage. I'm not afraid.
Love it.
I'm no coward. I love Totuma. All right. So before we open things up to talk about a bunch of other crazy hidden gems, what has our experience been like sharing these games with others? Have we kept them to ourselves? What's your success rate? Like that sort of thing.
As you could tell from all the jabs I've taken at myself, I love to share games that I find, and frequently they will not land correctly. I think my rate of getting people to play a game that they really enjoy is something like 20%.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, the vast majority of them nobody likes, and then every once in a while we'll have Paradise Killer or something like that where people play and they're like, "No, this game does fucking slap." I don't know if I can take credit for Neon White, but I'd love to. But that game just got a ton of buzz. But yeah, anyways, I'm excited about games, and sometimes a game will come along like Ace Angler, which is a wonderful video game, and everybody's wrong about it, and only I like it.
So the thing about Brodie's video game recommendations is he casts too wide a net. He goes shotgun style instead of sniper style with it.
Right.
Right? Because Brodie recommended Paradise Killer to me, and I fucking love that game. But Brodie also recommended Paradise Killer, I'm guessing, to like 20 other people. And that is a Dale game. That is not a game that the average person is going to like. Brodie recommended Ace Angler to like a whole Discord full of people.
A couple times, yeah.
And like 3 people enjoyed it. Mel, I think you are one of them.
Yeah.
Both sides was one of them. And I'm not sure who the third is, right? But I fucking hated that game. That game was ass, right? But it's not my style of game.
Right.
And so that's where, like, in my opinion, obviously this depends on the game. Some of them are great games that just had like, they've got widespread appeal and shitty marketing, right? Like RoboPit sounds like a game I'm going to love. But most of these games that are hidden gems are games that scratch a very specific itch, and therefore they only appeal to a really niche audience.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I feel like I actually have about like a 50% success rate when recommending games, because the games that the like hidden gems that I'll recommend to people, I tailor to like games that I know that they'll love. Right. Granted, that might just be confirmation bias. It might be like, hey, you tried out that you told me about like, I don't know, Metroid. And it's like, yeah, I got them in, and it's like they would have stumbled upon Metroid, you know, to your Neon White point. Right. But at the same time, like you gotta, when you're recommending hidden gems, you gotta cater it to the likes of the person.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I would totally agree to that, because like some people like just won't care. Like you'll explain a game. Just like I do this to Josh all the time. I'm like trying to explain this game that I like really, really enjoy. And he's just like, this does not sound cool whatsoever. Like I'm watching you play this game and it looks dumb as hell.
Fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really important that you know who your audience is when you're talking about like some of your favorite games.
Or you just have to be okay with failing a lot, like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, one thing that I didn't put in here, but is 100% true. Sometimes it's just like the right game hits you at the right time in your life.
Ooh, this is a really big one.
Super true.
Good call.
Yeah.
Right. So like it might be a game that like you love and nobody else has heard of. And then like you recommend it to people, and because technology has progressed or because it didn't age well or whatever, right? The graphics are bad now. Like, it just isn't going to get its hooks into people because of where they are in their life. So
very true.
Yeah.
Good call.
All right, so let's break this thing wide open, baby.
Hell yeah.
Tell us about some hidden gems that you love.
All right. So the first one I can think of for me is a game called Horde. I'm not sure if either of you guys have played it. It is a game that kind of like acts like it's a tabletop game, but it's obviously not because you play a little dragon and you fly around, and as time goes on, like little castles and settlements and stuff will pop up, and literally the game is just like torching that stuff. And torching that will give you gold or gems and stuff that you take back to your cave, and you just get loot. That's just the whole game. There's a timer. You try and survive and get the highest score at the end of the timer. I bought it for PlayStation 3. That was the first time I had heard of it too. Yeah, because it was one of the first games I bought for PS3. And that is a great way to kill like 5 minutes. I think you could probably pick it up on Steam for like $2 now. But Horde is a game, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about that game, but it's a lot of fun for like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there.
Is this the game where you use the 6-axis controller to like control your dragon, or is that a different game?
No, that must be a different game. This one is like, it's isometric.
Okay.
So yeah, no, you definitely just use the controller, the stick.
Okay, I think I found it on Steam. And it says that you can play up to 4-player co-op online. Oh, wow. And it's only $1.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, it's part of the Steam sale.
Yeah.
That's a good game for $1. That is a wonderful $1 game.
Adding to cart. Dude, my fucking wish list is going to be ginormous after this episode.
It's the complete pack is $1.59.
Dude. Yeah.
All right, yeah. One of the expansions is called Horde, Flame Broiled Sandwich. I'm in.
Yep, we're doing this.
All right, I'm going to talk about my most obtuse hidden gem first. It is a game called Carnage Blender. And it is a non-graphical, browser-based MMO auto battler.
What?
See, that's definitely the kind of game I would recommend for Dale if I heard a description of it.
Basically, no one should play this, but I played the fuck out of this game. Essentially, you have like 6 minions on your team, and you give each of them like specific attacks, and you can level them up and give them different stats and that sort of thing. And then they are constantly available to be attacked. And as they get attacked, you gain like XP and that sort of thing that you can use to level them up. And when they die, you have to heal them. And then you can also go out and be proactive about it and attack other people with them. And like try and take down their team of minions that they've set up, right? And so there's like leaderboards and seasonal ladders and different gear that you could equip and all sorts of crazy shit like that. And it's a completely free game online. But it has no graphics. It has no story. It is literally just like strategy. Can you beat other people? It's like the most pure PvP there is, as far as like PvP strategy is concerned. No one should play this game. But I loved the shit out of this.
I'm so confused. What does the UI look like then if it's like
text?
It's all text.
Yes.
And input values, like you just.
Yes. You're like selecting shit. It looks like you're like Microsoft Excel. Like you're selecting shit from drop down menus, like text boxes. Like that's the game.
I'm so interested, but I don't know if this would be something I would want to play.
I mean, the cost of trying it is literally $0.
It's true.
It's free online. But yeah, it is so unbelievably obtuse. But you know what's cool about this game?
What?
If you're working in a shitty dead end office job, man, can you play this? And no, everybody thinks that it's work.
That's
Added
wonderful.
bonus.
Which is the time in my life where this game mattered to me. So
I love it.
It's great.
All right, Mel, what do you got? What's your first one here?
Yeah, we're kind of going to follow the same line of like RPGs, but this is a game that was created in like in 02, like 2002. And it was kind of overshadowed by Neverwinter Nights and Morrowind during this time. And our game is Dungeon Siege. It is an action RPG with tactical elements. And it was very cool because it felt like it scratched this Diablo itch that I was really looking for during this time. You had the ability to like find items and like attach it to your characters, and then find companions like within the game to like add items to that companion as well. And it was the first game was like very, very linear in terms of like going through like a story progression and finding companions. But my favorite part of that game was that they had like donkeys that like, if you ran out of space in your own inventory, a donkey would like follow you, and you can just like put all your stuff in the donkey.
a literal item mule.
Yeah,
A literal item mule. And I just thought that was like so funny, so great. But like I love this game so much because it was like just enough action where it wasn't like hack and slash everything, and just enough tactical aspects where it allowed me to control my companions, so that way I could like kind of like play the game how I want to play it with other people. And I loved it so much that I was like, Mom, like you have to like see this game. Like this is like I like I need somebody to play this game with me. And she was like, all right, whatever. Like I'll play this game with you. And it had a co-op, so my mom and I would play together. And one day I remember distinctly like going to bed and then waking up the next day, and my mom's still at the computer, and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I beat the game.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I just like,
I mean, it's kind of amazing, but it also kind of sucks if you were playing co-op and then she just kept playing.
And I was like, well, how am I going to play the game? No. She's like, oh, I'll just play it with you again. No big deal. But yeah, it was a really fun RPG game. Just because it was just casual enough to hit like the tactical elements and like the hack and slash. Highly recommend. It was good.
That's awesome.
Nice. Well, hey, I got another one. Which is, and this is actually a good call for a place and time one. So I think at the time this game came out, or at least I had access to it, I was probably super deep into Destiny 2 back in the day. And the game is Strange Brigade and I was playing it on an Xbox. I'm not sure if anybody's heard of it. But it was a multiplayer, like shooter that used the like Uncharted or Indiana Jones kind of like aesthetic, where you're all like treasure hunters of some sort, and you're fighting against like waves of like mummies and stuff like that, as I recall. But I just remember the game being like surprisingly good, and it was a game that I think a lot of people didn't play because the reviews were pretty mixed, and there were just other games out, and I just kind of randomly stumbled upon it, and I played it with my my Sea of Thieves gaming group like for a bit. I think it may have also been before Sea of Thieves, if I recall correctly, but I do not know. Anyway, Strange Brigade was another one that I sunk a bunch of time into, and I actually really, really enjoyed my time with it. It was pretty simple. It was like, third person, you run, you shoot, you collect treasure. Really enjoyed it.
I remember the advertising for this game because it had that like 1930s newsman aesthetic, like a man on the edge of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Kind of deal, but I did not play it. It is currently available on Steam. It's there's a sale going on Steam as we're recording this. It might not still be there while you are listening to this, but it's on sale for $5, and the deluxe edition is $8.
Oh man!
So, and that's down from the deluxe edition is down from $80. So
here's the thing: I maybe don't recommend buying this game at this point because there's just so many better games than this.
Right.
But at the time, this was a pretty damn good game. I liked it.
Huh. Very cool looking. I love how there's like zombies in this game and like mummies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Sorta.
yeah. Yep. It definitely does the like, it really borrows from like The Mummy, for sure.
I can see that.
All right. I've never watched The Mummy. I hear that's a great film.
It's a fun
Definitely,
one.
definitely not a. Yeah, I've never seen it. I don't know how I missed it. That's definitely not a hidden gem, though. I'm going to talk about Indigo Prophecy now, which was this wild ass PS2 game from Quantic Dream, where the creators of Detroit Become Human. It was their first foray into interactive cinema. It's really. It's confusing because it's called Indigo Prophecy in the US, but it was called like Fahrenheit in Europe when it first released.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was like a movie you could play with like different branching. It was basically a choose your own adventure movie. If you've played Detroit Become Human or any of their other games since then, Heavy Rain, there's another one that I can't remember. They're all along the same lines. They basically did the Telltale thing where they like figured out a formula and stuck to it. The storyline in this definitely falls apart in the third act, but it showed a completely new style of gameplay and storytelling. It was really fun. This was one of the first games that I played and Ange watched me play, right? And it was great for that because like you're talking about like, oh, I've got to make a decision, like what should we do? And then you're like debating back and forth, but there's a timer on the screen that's going down and it's like, I don't know, we got to make a call.
Yeah.
You got to hit the button real fast, like that sort of thing. It was just a lot of fun. It was definitely enjoyable. And like I said, the story does fall apart in the third act, but the rest of the game is so good that I can forgive it that.
Yeah. It's
Nice.
okay. So I remember Indigo Prophet, like playing this game. Your main character kind of like goes crazy, right? Like there's like a scene where he's like in the office and he's like seeing monsters or something like that, right? And
Yeah,
then like
there are
realizes
a couple different characters who go crazy in this game.
I remember that game being so good and so riveting. But you're right. The third act, it was just like, oh, heartbreaking.
It was a lot of like, what?
Yeah,
What?
exactly.
I don't want to spoil anything, but they were like, oh, you think that this is about this, but it's totally about this other thing.
Right. It really gets you.
And it comes out of nowhere, which is the problem.
Right.
You know, if they had planted seeds, it'd be like, oh, I thought that. But instead it was like, no, now we're double crossing you. And oh, come on. I only wanted a single cross.
That's a good call out. Indigo Prophecy is a very, very good call out. My game is next one that I would love to just like tell people about is Chicory Colorful Tale. I saw this on AGDQ. Somebody was speedrunning it, and I remember like watching it and going, man, this is like a very, very cute game that I feel like I would really be interested in. And turns out it is fantastic. Like you play as a character that comes across a artist that is the wielder of this brush that helps, you know, develop the world. And she kind of goes through something really terrible. So then your character becomes the new wielder of the brush. And like you're trying to stop corruption that's like really plaguing the world. But it plays like a coloring book where like the whole entire game is in black and white. And because you are the wielder of the brush, you can select the colors that to put back into the environment, which I thought was very cool. You get like different types of like paint brushes to kind of like paint the world. It's like how you see fit. That game was just so charming, so lighthearted. The dialogue in that game too was just adorable. Like you just want to talk to every single character because they had so much life in them. I don't know how to explain this game other than like if you're looking for something that's just really lighthearted and fun, this is a great game. A very, very good game.
I have this game and I've been meaning to sit down and play it. I've started it a couple times and it has kind of like Zelda-y aspects to it where like depending on what you paint, it might change the level a little bit or change the screen that you're on. But yeah, it looks like a great game. I'd love to get through it. I will try.
Yes. There's a couple of scenes like in the game where I was kind of like startled by it because the whole game itself is just very like kind of like a cuteness overload. There's a little bit of like creepy aspects in the game that kind of like caught me off guard. So I would just be a little bit aware of that because corruption and shit. So yeah, I love it. The music is good too in that game. So
all right.
Speaking of games with good music, I want to talk about Kid Dracula.
What is that?
On the Game Boy. It was a Konami game that is a spin-off / cutesy parody of Castlevania. So you play as Dracula as a child who forgot to bring all his spells with him. And so you are playing this platforming game that is similar to a Castlevania in theme, but everything's chibi versions. So it's there's a Medusa, but it's cute. There's bat, but it's cute.
That.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's made by Konami. So they made cute versions of some of the Castlevania music and put it in this. Really? So it's songs that were previously in a minor key in Castlevania 3 show up in this game, but they're in a major key and they're upbeat and fun. And it's got a bunch of links to Castlevania. And it was just really, really a solid platformer that got dismissed because it looks like a game that was made exclusively for children.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this. I'm looking through it now. It looks like there was an NES version as well, and maybe a Famicom version.
Maybe, I'm not sure. I played it on the Game Boy, but it was awesome. It was a ton of fun.
It's very cute. The artwork kind of reminds me of the Little Miss whatever Sunshine. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it kind of has that big blobby shape thing, and there's a whole I don't know how to.
Oh yeah, I do know what you're talking about.
There's a whole bunch of different characters that are very round and very 90s-esque. That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Yeah.
It was great.
Nice. Yeah, I'd never heard of that one either. But
he shoots magic bullets. He's got wild hair. He's adorable.
He is adorable.
I like his little teeth.
Speaking of adorable, I think my next one is one that fell into the category of big budget AAA game that for whatever reason nobody I know was playing, and that's going to be the Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 1 and 2 games. Those games were so fucking good, and it definitely scratched the same itch as I would spend a lot of time playing Call of Duty back in the day, Modern Warfare, and Cold War, where I would just sit in the multiplayer queue just for hours and just kind of absentmindedly just play multiplayer matches over and over and over again. I would do that with this game too, or with both of these games as well. The thing that I really loved about it too was that they always had stuff for you to do that was outside of the multiplayer, things that you could unlock. There were so many unlockables in that game. And they had all kinds of stuff that was single player only, all kinds of different game modes and stuff like that. And I absolutely love these games. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't played them, I think they're on Game Pass. The second one is, I believe, the Battle for Neighborville. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's still worth checking out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you like a good multiplayer shooter that's real casual, check it out for sure. One of the coolest things too is that as you unlock outfits or cosmetics or stuff, they do change the behavior slightly of your plants or zombies. So for example, you'll have for the cactus, you'll have unlike a frozen cactus skin, but then your shots do a little bit of a slow on the enemy when you shoot them. So everybody could just minorly customize their character a little bit too. And I think there were skill trees too for every different class that you could play, which was neat. It was a very fun game. If you're looking for something just to kill some time in a really casual multiplayer way, it's hard to not recommend PvZ Garden Warfare 2.
See, I skipped this because the idea of Call of Duty but plants did not sound appealing to me.
And I think most people had the same reaction.
And then I never heard anything about it after it released. Never once did I hear a review or anything about it. And so I just totally forgot about it until right now.
Yeah, they were very good games.
Definitely overshadowed by a lot of other first person shooters. But I love the art style in this too. It's just very 3D cartoony. I love the plants. There's apparently 4-player co-op, so
yeah,
if anybody's down to play, we should do it.
I mean, it's on Game Pass. and so I'm downloading it right now. I'm installing it.
He's a good game.
Speaking of good games, I want to talk about one of my favorite ones that I got from like a Steam bundle, like a potato bundle, when like I think Portal 2 was just first coming out. There would like in order for you to like get some sort of like cool item in like your Steam library, which is a fucking potato. You had to play a whole bunch of different games that was in this bundle. And one of these games is called 10 Million. And it's just a very cool, like, match 'em up dungeon crawler where, like, your character is, like, going through a dungeon and it can encounter, like, a zombie or something, or a skeleton. And then you have to match up, like, axes, or you have to match up wands to, like, you know, defeat this guy. And then you have to match up, like, keys in order to unlock doors. I love this game so much because it hit, like, this really good feeling of like, I want to play Bejeweled, but I also don't want to play Bejeweled, but I also want to play like a roguelite, but like I don't necessarily want to deal with going, you know, an hour playing a specific round. Like this game was just wonderful. The unlockables that you can get in this game was just fun and interesting. Like this game is so good.
Can confirm that game is really good. And you know what the devs of 10 Million also made?
What?
Infinity Island.
Shut your face. No wonder that game is
and
so
you must build a boat.
addicting.
Yep. You Must Build a Boat, which was another one of their match 3 games.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to have to Google this now.
It's almost as though they like sold their soul to Satan for like addictability in their games.
Yeah,
because I remember playing 10 Million in the break room of Apple, and it was like one of those games where it was like somebody found it and then it just spread like kudzu throughout the entire team. It was like, have you heard of 10 Million? Oh, we're all playing 10 million. Are you playing 10? I just got all the key, like that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I loved when like you got really into the game, like because sometimes like when you play like these mindless games, you're like hyper focused into like playing it, and then you get to like this part of like the apex of your parabola of like how focused you are, and next thing you know, like you're just like matching things like wild, and things are just like blowing up on your screen, and your person's just like flying through the level, and that was just like so addicting, and like it had such an adrenaline rush for like a matching game.
Hell yeah.
I'm sorry, you just said the apex of our parabola, and I can't move past that.
Why not?
I don't know, man. I'm not smart enough for this podcast anymore.
I also use that same terminology when you talk about like drunkenness and playing any type of bar games.
Oh yeah, the beer curve.
Know? Yeah. Same concept.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. It's the apex and then the nadir or whatever, NADIR.
Nadir.
Yeah.
That's a word that Meredith uses.
I have one more game to talk about.
Yes.
And I have to talk about this one.
Mm-hmm.
The game is called There's Poop in Your Soup.
You have actually given me a copy.
I have given a copy.
I also have received a copy of this.
I have given a copy to both of these guys, and it's amazing because it's very cheap. I think I bought it for like 50 cents on the Steam store. And at first I was like, what the fuck is this game? This is very, very dumb. But you are a butthole and you're literally just pooping on people.
Should this be the next Super O Plays? Since we all have a copy.
No, it's too casual for that. But you have to play it. You just look at the pictures and just go, what is happening? Like you can literally rain a shitstorm on top of people.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm gonna have to play this game.
And that's all I'm gonna say. That's what I'm gonna end on.
I'm probably gonna stream this game.
It's great.
Amazing.
It is so funny.
That's so good.
All right, I got one more too. I'm going to go really fast. Mine was a game, it still is a game for iOS called Fishing Break. Now, I think this game has gotten a little bit aggressive on the free-to-play stuff. So if you download it and you're like, wow, this is bad, I think it's changed a little bit. When I played it back in the day, it was just a really great way to kind of kill time, because it's literally just like you press a button to cast and you press a button to reel. And there's like a billion different environments and all these different kinds of fish that you can catch. And I played a lot of that game in the past, so might still be worth checking out. I'm not sure if anybody played it. I'm not sure how popular it was. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. Last game I'm going to call out is Uniracers, which is a racing game on the SNES. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me why it hasn't been re-released somewhere, like on the Switch store or what, like any of that stuff. And then in my research for this episode, I found out that Uniracers was sued by Pixar, and they lost the suit. And so they'll never be able to like re-release it. So the reason that this beauty of a game isn't available is because of Pixar. Wow. So that's pretty crazy. But you raced unicycles. They could do sweet tricks. It was easily my favorite racing game on the SNES. So look it up elsewhere to play it, or try and find the cartridge. Good luck. But yeah, the game rules.
Love it.
So, all right. We went through those pretty quick. Any other like just real quick games you just want to say the name of, and then we'll move on?
Yeah, I got a couple. If you're going to play one on this list, make it Might and Magic Clash of Heroes. I've talked about that in the past. Game is amazing. Card Thief, Beacon Pines, Littlewood, Phantom Abyss, Dorf Romantic.
Phantom Abyss and Dorf Romantic, I can second. Those are both awesome games. I'm going to continue with Boom Blocks on the Wii. Yeah. If you liked that, there's a game on Apple Arcade called Castle Crumble that is very similar that you should check out. Disco Elysium, which despite being a critical darling and releasing on all three major systems and PC, did not sell well. You should play Disco Elysium. It is an amazing story. Similarly, if you want a great story in a strategy tactics game, you should play Wilder Myth. And if you're not sure on whether or not you should play Wilder Myth, we did a video series on that on our YouTube channel that you should check out. It was a ton of fun. And then lastly, one of my favorite aggressive sports games of all time, Thrasher Skate and Destroy on the PS1. I don't know if there is a game that has a better soundtrack. So you should check it out. It fucking slaps. Mel, what do you got?
I only got a couple. One Shot, which we talked about before. Kind Words. I'm just going to leave that there. Townscaper is really cool. And Rain on Your Parade. If you haven't played Rain on Your Parade, I highly recommend it. It's very adorable and very goofy.
I love the call out of Kind Words. It is barely a game, but it is beautiful.
Yes.
And I downloaded Townscaper because it is on Game Pass. So you can check that out at no cost to you or your loved ones.
Yay.
All right. So you guys know what time it is?
Time for a sponsor question.
Yes. This week we are sponsored by Geodes. Sometimes they rocks, but sometimes they rock. You don't know until you crack them open.
Oh my God. The fact that you read that.
I love it. Thank you.
What thing in your day-to-day life do you think is a hidden treasure that nobody seems to appreciate as much as you?
Mine is something I've talked about in the pod before, which is these things called Star Fiber Scrubbies. I will never use a sponge again. These things are fucking brilliant. They're little microfiber pucks. They're the best for cleaning stuff in your sink.
So cool. Mine is my mini handheld vacuum for my work desk. It is literally a handheld vacuum that you just pick up all of your dust.
Puck.
Yeah,
What?
it does.
Yeah, it is. It's like a puck that just sucks up shit on your desk. It's
That's
perfect.
wild.
Like sometimes you just get dust everywhere and then you don't want to use like a whole vacuum for it. So you just have a mini vacuum for it.
All right, right on.
I just use canned air. Is it better than canned air?
But the canned air just pushes the dust around.
Yeah,
this vacuum sucks it up.
Anyway, mine is Gold Toe Socks. I don't know of anyone else who wears Gold Toe Socks. A while back, I did this thing where all I asked Ange for I think it was Christmas was new socks, so I could throw out all of my old socks and wear exclusively new socks. and she was an angel and she did so, but she got me Hanes, which was my previous favorite brand, and I like wore through them instantly. And so she went to her dad, who used to be a cop and therefore had to walk a bunch, and was like, what socks do cops wear? And they all wear gold toe socks, and it's because they last forever. And so shout out to Angie's folks for always getting me a pack for Christmas. It's great. Gold toe socks.
Nice.
They're great. All right. Any other things that we need to talk about from Hidden Gems?
Don't think so.
I need people to tell me their hidden gems. That's all.
Yeah. Discord, please. Drum it up.
It's true.
That's where you can find Dan. Fuck him.
I was going to say Dan is a hidden gem of a human because he's totally fine with us telling him to fuck off every single week.
That is correct.
So fuck off, Dan. I've been playing some fork knife with him. Man, he is an anchor. All right. I love him, though. I love him every day. All right. If you are interested in sharing your hidden gems, you can do so in our Discord. And if you're like, man, they sure did talk about all that really quick, I wish that there was a convenient place that I could find all of these show notes. The answer to that is on our Patreon. Yeah. There is also, as an added bonus this week, a link to the patent information for Totuma in the show notes. So if you want to see what the fuck I'm talking about and don't want to just Google it, you can do it. You can find that there. Also, we got a YouTube channel you can go and subscribe to. This podcast is available there. So maybe you're like, I'm sick of the podcast app that I use for all my other podcasts. Great. Maybe you need to show this to a friend and you're like, I don't want them to see the weird podcast I'm subscribed to. Send them the YouTube link. We would love that. It would mean the world to us. And also, hey, maybe review the podcast, right? It will help other people to see the podcast. It's great. It's a great time. Maybe we're your hidden gem. I don't know, man. I don't know. All right. That's all I got. You guys got anything else? Tell the people where you can be found.
Find me in the Discord as Arborescence.
I am Melephant. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and on the Discord as Melephant.
As what?
Melephant.
It's like a Pokemon devolving before our eyes.
Yeah.
You went from like being able to say your own name to like your jaw not moving.
Yeah, just instantly melting. It's fine.
I'm a clay fighter. No. I'm a 20-sided ninja everywhere 20-sided ninjas can be found. Love you all dearly. Thanks so much for listening if you're listening, and I hope you have a super okay day. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.